Today I would like to talk a little bit about our new program, which focuses on how to influence employee health by increasing intrinsic motivation. First little question, who already knows what intrinsic motivation is? Please raise your hand. Who doesn't? Yeah, be brave. Okay, cool. Why this program? We hosted a lot of different lifestyle workshops in the last years, and we noticed some kind of a pattern. We saw people joining the workshops that were already motivated in changing health, but we were missing a big group. We were missing the employees that needed the most, the unhealthy and unmotivated employee. They were not joining the workshops. So we dived deep in the science and the literature, and we came up with this program, a leadership program, which focuses on applying new skills as a leader in your team to, first of all, increase intrinsic motivation, so that later on those employees will easier join well-being programs and lifestyle workshops. What we're going to do, it's only 40 minutes, so I hope to tell not a lot about theory, and we'll do a little bit of practice, so it should be sort of interactive. First, a little talk about the relation between intrinsic motivation and employee involvement. Second, you're going to measure your own intrinsic motivation for work. Can be interesting to see. Then, what are the negative effects? So when you score low on intrinsic motivation, what is the downside? Then we focus on a little part of our program, raising autonomy. First, a little bit about the effects of boosting autonomy, and we end with one little exercise out of our program, how to boost autonomy. Cool. A little bit about myself. I'm Tim Salomons, 34 years old, living in Amsterdam. And I founded Performance Boost back in 2012. At that point, I was a performance psychologist and a sports psychologist. And I had a background in professional speed skating. And what I was really intrigued by was the link, the parallel between top sports and top performing in organizations. And that you sort of need the same mental aspects to top perform in sports and in an organization. So I gave a lot of training and coaching in organizations to help managers to perform better. But I was only working with this little group of persons in a company, only the high potentials and the high performance. And I noticed that, the large amount of employees were not at basic levels of vitality. A lot of smoking, sleep was often not at the right level, a lot of stress, nutritional-wise, not a lot of knowledge. So that was when I sort of changed my focus from performance coaching towards vitality coaching. In the last couple of years, we hosted lots of different workshops at big companies like VGZ, Ahold, Tata Steel. And what I said before, we noticed this pattern that only those people were attending that didn't really need it, or they were already focusing on a behavioral change. And we were not seeing the people that really needed it. So we developed this course, which we're going to talk about today. Little question. Who of you are working in organizations that are providing sport programs like boot camps, company fitness, maybe yoga. Right, so sort of half, maybe a bit more than 50%. Cool. And who of you are working at companies that are hosting or have ever hosted lifestyle workshops, like nutritional workshops, stress management, sleep coaching, sleep management? 20%, I guess. Who's not working at companies that are doing that? Okay, so that's more. Perfect, perfect. To sort of, I would like to show you a sort of a little exercise. It's always a little bit tricky if it works. But to sort of explain why most of the people that need it are not joining those exercises. And for this demonstration, I need a volunteer. A brave volunteer. Perfect. Would you please come and stand forward and sit on this chair facing the audience. What's your name?
Sophia.
Sophia. Welcome. Thank you. Question for the audience. And let's say to make it a little bit more easier, for the second row, try to get Sophia back on her chair without touching her. You can speak. Yeah. Sophia, can you come here, please? Yes, it's a question. A cookie? A cookie? Is a cookie working?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah? That's sort of bribing, isn't it? Yeah? Maybe someone else with a question? How do you get Sophia back on her chair?
Don't you like it more over here than over there?
It's nice here as well.
You can see the screen better if you sit over here.
Yeah? Persuading?
I like the team part.
What do you need from us in order to get back here?
Yeah? What do you need?
It's a good question, indeed.
Well, what do you need?
Cookies? Someone else. The question. The $1 million question. No? Okay, thank you, Sophia. Little applause for Sophia. Yes, thank you. Sophia is the unmotivated, healthy, in this way, I guess, employee. They're not joining wellness programs. You can bribe, you can persuade, you can maybe even force people to join well-being programs. But something is missing. Nobody asked, what does Sophia want? And second, why is Sophia sitting over there? And this is a big part of the program we are having. It's answering the questions, what do you need as an organization or as a leader to get Sophia back on her chair? That was the exercise. So first, what is vitality? Because you hear a lot about vitality, health, well-being, all terms that are sort of used together with each other. For us, vitality means for individuals to have emotional, mental and physical freedom to do those things in life that makes life worth living for. So when talking about health, I always have the difficulty with vitality and health, because when you want to climb a mountain in the Himalaya, that's not healthy. But you can still feel really, really vital to climb a mountain. When you are terminal ill, you're not healthy, but you can still be really, really vital when terminal ill. So it's a theory about freedom. You need to have the freedom to do those things in life that makes for you life living for. For organizations, it's a little bit difficult. It has more to do with being able to adjust and adapt to the fast-changing market circumstances. And we already heard in the other stories in the morning that it's mostly technology that makes organizations more vital. Having better machines, faster cars, better management systems helps vitalizing organizations. But it's still people that need to respond, innovate, and respond on those fast-changing market circumstances. So for us, vitalizing organizations means people management. And it is increasing the motivation of people, so they are more involved in the company, so they can respond better to those fast-changing markets. And this should be an ongoing process. It's same like managing cash flow or managing R&D. You should also manage the vitalization of your organization constantly. So, what is involvement of people? And when looking at the theory, there's at this moment one really currently leading theory about human motivation, and that's the self-determination theory, developed by Dickey and Ryan already back in 1970, I guess. And it talks about these three human basic needs. Autonomy, a feeling of volition, a feeling of psychological freedom. Engagement, officially it's called relatedness, but in organizations, engagement is, as you ask me, a better word. And it has more to do with a feeling of belonging, being part of a group, feeling a sense of social cohesion, but also to be cared for and loved for by your peers in the employee as an employee. And competence, doing things where you're good at. And being aware of your strength, trying to challenge those strengths and extend and test these strengths. And when looking at theory, you see this continuum of which starts downwards at amotivation, so totally not being motivated for work, and it goes all the way up to intrinsic motivation. And it's quite interesting to see these different kinds of forms of motivation, where, and I'm sorry for the screen that's so wobbly, but it's the air conditioning, I heard. Starting with external motivation, it's really easy. You do your job because you get a reward, or you get a punishment if you don't do your work. This can be a really good form of motivation, but only for simple tasks where quantity does matter. Then one step up higher, you've got introjected regulation, and it's just about winning and losing. You want to win. And that also works, but at the moment that when the competition is over, why would you be motivated to work? If you're already a winner, where's the motivation? Next is identified regulation. You do your job well because you want to reach something. I always compare this with my speed skating back in the days. I hated doing stomach exercises. But I had identified regulation. I did the stomach exercises because I knew that in the end it will help me with my goal, and that was speed skating. Then you've got integrated regulation, and that's more about ethics. You just do your job well because you should do your job well. And sort of the best thing to strive is intrinsic motivation. You just do your job because you like it. Your job is fulfilling your three basic needs: autonomy, competence, and engagement. So it looks like that the more intrinsically motivated you are, the more involved you are in your job. So take a little time. This is the work basic need scale developed in Holland to measure intrinsic motivation on the 3 domains of autonomy, engagement, and competence. You can do it for yourself. And what you do is add your scores up and divide it by 3. And then a score of 3.5 or higher is desirable. So there's not really a good or bad thing, but it's a good way to have a sort of a feeling how you score per domain. Yeah, sorry. So add the scores up and divide by 3. It should be 3.5 or higher. That's desirable. Yeah. Who's not ready? Yeah. Cool. So the 3 questions for engagement. Who's not ready? Yep. The last one. Divided by 4. Yes. Yes, thank you. Everyone ready? Almost.
What's the cut-off point here for being overcompetent?
Haha. So you mean the danger of a bore-out? I guess it's not measured by these questions. But it's a good thing. The moment you are too competent for your job, that's absolutely also really dangerous. Yeah. But first of all, you sort of want to feel sure that you're competent in your job. Okay, is someone scoring lower than 3.5? Does he dare to say that? No? All really happy and intrinsically motivated over here. Cool. So what are the negative effects? So if you score low on intrinsic motivation, it's absenteeism. When feeling a lack of autonomy, there's a strong relationship with burnout. So the less autonomy you feel, the bigger the chance you will end up with symptoms of burnout and eventually a real burnout. And everyone knows that the recovery from a burnout takes really, really long. On average, 270 days. So that's a lot of absenteeism. When feeling less engaged, there's a strong correlation with less job satisfaction and also less well-being. And when feeling not competent, there's not a direct relationship with absenteeism, but when feeling not competent, you will feel more stress, also a lack of autonomy, and in the end, more absenteeism. Another negative effect is turnover. And there's always this discussion if turnover is a good thing or not. Mostly American companies still have this annual thing going on that 5% of the lowest scoring employees are dismissed. But when you look at the data, it's really simple. Voluntary turnover is always a bad thing for productivity. and money. And also money, of course. Yeah, and knowledge that's just floating away. So, what is leading these absenteeism and turnover? It's stress. Stress from a lack of autonomy, a lack of engagement, and a lack of competence. And stress itself is not bad. I mean, stress makes you work. You need stress for performance. But stress is bad when you perceive stress as a bad thing. Stress is unhealthy when you think stress is unhealthy. You will die earlier, at an early age, when you experience stress and think that it is bad and negative for you. So it's all about perceiving. How do you perceive stress? And there's this interesting study that's already there for 32 years. They're following British civil servants. It's called the Whitehall Studies. And they found this relationship between the amount of perceived stress and the amount of coronary incidents. And there's a strong relationship. So when you perceive stress as a bad thing, you will get sooner some coronary incidents like heart attack. But there's also a correlation between perceived stress and a lack of autonomy. So that sort of gives us a clue where to focus on. What do you think is the main stress source within organizations for employees? Workload? Something else? Expectations. Company culture, yeah? It's the manager. Pointed out by 50 to 70% of the employees. So that's where we have to focus on. If you want to lower stress, you have to focus on the manager. So that's why we came up with this leadership program. Our leadership program focuses on boosting autonomy, engagement, and competence. Now, well, we only have 40 minutes, so I want to focus on autonomy today. First, what are the effects? Because there's a lot of research going on the effects of autonomy. And the first one is a strong correlation, I already told you, about autonomy and burnout. So the higher the autonomy is, the less burnout you will experience. Another one is about satisfaction and emotional burden. The more autonomy you feel, the more job satisfaction you will experience and less emotional burden. When feeling low on job satisfaction and a lot of emotional burden, there's a correlation with voluntary turnover. So you will just leave sooner when you experience a lot of emotional burden. Also an interesting one is knowledge sharing. When feeling a lot of autonomy, you will share knowledge easier and quicker. And when feeling not autonomous, you will keep the knowledge for yourself. And a big Dutch study, a meta-analysis among 3,000 different studies, they found that there was a strong correlation between autonomy and profitability. Whether there was a reward or not. So it was really profitability. And they also found this correlation that external motivation is still good for easy tasks, what I said before. Okay, so there's this correlation. That's all cool, but are there also interventions measured? Yes. A big study for coaching skills by Dickey. He found that when managers were trained in new coaching skills like active listening, positive feedback, and stimulating taking initiative, the managers felt that they were able to manage better with autonomy, but also employee autonomy went up. A second study done by Hardware was about training managers with autonomy. 2 intervention groups. One group got the training, one group of managers, and the other one did nothing. And you saw after 5 weeks after the program that the amount of autonomy for employees was increased. And a big meta-analysis found the same results. So it is trainable. Managers are able to change. That's a big thing. It's just doing. You should just start. To experience a little exercise about our program, I would like to ask you to do the following. Turn to your neighbor. One plays the manager, and the other one the employee. The goal of the manager is simple: find out what the number one stress source is at this moment regarding work. And help your employee deal with the stress. And we've got 3 minutes. Question I would like to ask to all of you. Who gave, as a manager, who gave advice? Yeah? So a couple. Okay, cool, interesting. Second part of the exercise. Turn to your other neighbor and follow this structure. So first is the first question you ask your employee: what's on top of your mind regarding work? So projects, persons, or processes. Then the important one: what is the challenge? What is the real challenge? And more important, what is the real challenge for you? Those 3 questions are elementary, really important. Again, let's do it a little bit faster, 2 minutes. Try to really get in your system. So change positions and now facing your other neighbor. Let's go on to end the workshop. The outlines of the whole program. We always start with the scan, the BBNS, scan intrinsic motivation. Then we've got 4 programs: positive work identity that focuses on strength, that focuses on engagement, strength-based work that focuses on strength, competence. Then program 3, the coaching leader, focusing on autonomy. This was one of the exercises out of the program. And we end with leaders create safety. Really important, talking about ethics, but also bullying, what still happens a lot. That's in the last program. And each program consists of a workshop, a kick-off workshop, then some homework, then practicing with actors, feedback of the trainer, and in the end, you want to roll it out in your own team. So it should be that the knowledge that's been learned, that it stays in the company. So you don't need an external trainer to come back to train you when in 2 years there are new employees or new managers. So it's really a train-the-trainer program. Next to that, always also lifestyle workshops. Because when those employees are more intrinsically motivated, you want to have this program, this network of different workshops that are just the whole year they are programmed. And then in the end, you've got this. You've got top-down, the leadership program, and bottom-up, different kind of workshops, maybe one-on-one coaching and sport programs. And we call this viral vitality. This was it. Thank you for your attention. I hope it was interesting.